After I denied my neighbor's request to use my backyard for her Airbnb guests, I came home to find strangers lounging on my lawn. I told her this was trespassing. She smiled coldly. They paid. You'll adjust. I threatened legal action, but the next day my house was listed online under her profile. I tried to report it, until I saw my own driver's license attached to the account, and when I checked my wallet. I moved to Salem, Oregon 3 years ago after my divorce. I needed quiet. I needed space to think. I found a little house with a fenced yard and big trees. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I work from home doing remote bookkeeping, so I'm always around. I don't bother anyone, and I like to be left alone. My backyard is my favorite part. I spend hours there. It's where I drink coffee, read, and clear my head. About 6 weeks ago, my neighbor Sabrina knocked on my door. She and her husband had just moved in. She seemed nice enough at first. Dressed well, maybe trying a little too hard to be friendly. She said, "Hey, I was wondering, would it be okay if our Airbnb guests used your backyard? Just during the day sometimes. Ours doesn't have any shade." That threw me. I didn't even know she was running an Airbnb. I told her, "No, sorry. This yard is private. I work from home and I need the space." She blinked, paused for a second, and then smiled. "Oh, no problem. Just thought I'd ask." But the way she said it didn't sit right. Her smile was stiff. Too controlled. I didn't think about it much until the next week. I came back from a grocery run and there were 3 people lying on towels in my backyard like it was a damn resort. One of them had a speaker playing music. Another had a drink in her hand and waved at me like I was a hotel clerk. I walked up and said, "What are you doing?" The guy said, "We're staying next door. The host said we could hang out here." I told them this wasn't part of the rental. This was my private property. They were trespassing. They looked surprised and a little embarrassed, and they left without much fuss. I was pissed. I walked straight to Sabrina's place and knocked. She answered like she'd been expecting me. I said, "You sent guests into my backyard." Her answer? "They paid. You'll adjust." I couldn't believe it. I said if she ever did that again, I'd call the police. She didn't apologize. She just sipped her drink and shut the door. Next morning, I get a text from a friend, "Is this you?" It was a link to an Airbnb listing. I clicked it. My heart dropped. It was my house. Not just the outside. Inside too. My bedroom. My kitchen. My living room. Even my bathroom. Photos I never took. And the host? David Harper. My name. I checked my wallet. My license was gone. Panic hit me. I tried to report the listing to Airbnb, but I couldn't. The system said it was tied to my name and my ID. They thought I was running the listing. I called Airbnb support. They told me, if the name and ID match, there's not much we can do unless you can prove identity theft. I said, "I'm telling you this wasn't me." They gave me a case number and told me to call the police. So I did. The cop was polite but useless. He said it was more of a civil matter, and I'd probably need to take her to small claims court unless I could prove criminal fraud. He said if anyone entered the house again, I could call for trespassing, but there wasn't much they could do about the listing itself. That afternoon, guests showed up again. I told them to leave, but they argued. They said I was the owner. That they had messages. That they paid. I asked to see the listing on their phones. It was mine, my house, my address, my name. And somehow, she was managing it through that fake account. That night I changed all the locks, installed 2 security cameras, and made sure the gate stayed padlocked. But the listing stayed up. I needed to figure out how she got pictures of my house. Then I remembered something. About a month before, I'd booked a cleaning service. I'd been swamped with work and figured I'd try it once. The cleaner was supposed to be a guy named Brad. But the person who showed up was a woman who said she was covering for him. She said her name was Jenna. She was polite, quiet, didn't ask many questions. She'd had full access. She must have taken the pictures then. It made sense. She probably worked for Sabrina. Or was Sabrina? I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I started collecting everything. Screenshots of the listing. Photos of guests in the yard. License plate numbers. Times and dates. I made a folder on my computer and logged everything. I also installed hidden cameras in the yard and near the side gate. Then I got a break. One of the guests, a woman in her 30s, showed up with 2 kids. When I told her what was going on, she was shocked. She asked if her kids were in danger. I said no, just that they were lied to. She offered to send me the messages she got from the host. The host had slipped up, signed one of the texts with Sabrina. Finally, some proof. I took everything to a lawyer. He agreed I had a case for identity theft and fraud. But even that wasn't enough for me. She didn't just steal my info. She tried to take my home. So I decided to hit her where it hurt. I made a fake Airbnb account. Said I was a travel blogger. Told her I wanted to feature her rental in a video. She was excited. Offered me a tour. I wore a mask, sunglasses, and a hoodie, said I had a cold and didn't want to get her sick. She didn't care. She showed me everything. Bragged about how successful her listing was. Walked me through the whole yard, my yard, while I recorded everything with a hidden camera. She even said, "The neighbor's quiet. He works from home. Doesn't cause problems." That was all I needed. After that, I created a bunch of burner Airbnb accounts and flooded her real listing with fake negative reviews. I had a friend write one about how there were roaches and mold. Another said they found a hidden camera. Ironic, I know. Her reviews tanked. Her property got flagged. Then I sent everything to a local news station, screenshots, videos, my ID, the fake listing, all of it. And they ran with it. Front page of their website, Salem woman accused of listing neighbor's house on Airbnb using stolen identity, her name. Her face. All of it. She lost her job within the week. But I wasn't done. I told my lawyer to push the lawsuit. Fraud. Emotional distress. Damages. Identity theft. I wanted her in court. I wanted her to explain to a judge why she thought she could take my life and turn it into her business. We're mid-trial now. I can't say everything yet. But the evidence is on my side. She's desperate. And I'm not letting this go. A few days after the news story broke, things got worse, fast. At first, I thought I'd won. Sabrina's listing was down. Her reputation was trashed. People in the neighborhood stopped talking to her. A few even knocked on my door and said they were sorry for not believing me sooner. But then I started getting strange calls. Unknown numbers. No one on the other end. A few voicemails with heavy breathing. One had someone whispering, "You think you're smart?" It freaked me out, but I didn't have proof it was her. Then I noticed my internet was cutting in and out. Random times. Always during my meetings or when I was working. My router was fine. The company said everything looked good on their end. But it kept happening. I installed more cameras. One night, around 2:40 a.m., my motion alert went off. I checked the footage. There she was, Sabrina, walking along the fence line. She had her phone out, recording or taking pictures. She never came inside, but she lingered. Watching. Like she was waiting for something. I called the police again. Showed them the video. The officer watched it, nodded, and said, "She's not technically trespassing." But if she steps foot on your property, call us immediately. That same week, I got a letter in the mail from the IRS. Apparently, someone had filed a business license under my name. A small hospitality company. I didn't even know that was possible without signing in person. But somehow, she'd submitted the forms online and used a stolen digital copy of my ID. The address on the filing? My house. I had to hire a second lawyer to deal with that mess. It slowed everything down. My court case against her was now tied up with a bunch of red tape. We had to prove not just what she did, but when she did it, how, and how far it went. She was smart. Sloppy at first, but smart. She'd filed everything in pieces. A few weeks apart. Some with my name, some under a business alias that looked like a made-up LLC. But when my lawyer dug deeper, we found out she'd been trying to lease another nearby home in my name. Her plan? She wanted to run multiple Airbnb rentals using me as the fake front. It wasn't just a one-time fraud. It was a whole scam. I was furious. And then things got personal. Someone posted a for sale by owner sign in front of my house. I didn't put it there. Then someone egged my car in the driveway. Next, my mailbox was torn open. Each time, I called the police. Each time, they shrugged. Unless they caught her in the act, they said, there wasn't much they could do. So I changed my routine. Started sleeping during the day. Staying up all night. Watching the cameras. Waiting. One night, around 3 a.m., I saw her again. She came into the yard this time. Walked up to the side window and tried to peek in. I turned the porch light on. Opened the door. Camera in hand. She froze. "You're done," I said. She didn't speak. She just turned and walked away. The next morning, her lawyer filed a restraining order against me. Claimed I was stalking her, harassing her, and threatening her business livelihood. I couldn't believe it. She broke into my yard. Used my name. Stole my ID. And now I was the bad guy? We had to counterfile. More legal fees. More time. And while all this was happening, I still had to work. Still had to pay bills. Still had to act like I wasn't falling apart. Friends told me to move. She's not worth it, they said. But no. She picked the wrong person. I wasn't leaving. I was going to stay, and I was going to make sure she remembered me for the rest of her life. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making sure someone like her couldn't do this to anyone else ever again. And I was just getting started. Everything boiled over 2 months later. The court finally set a date for the trial. I walked in with a binder full of evidence, video clips, texts, statements from guests, a copy of the fake business registration, even the IRS letter. My lawyer came prepared like a man going into war. Sabrina showed up in a gray pantsuit, acting like none of this was a big deal. She smiled as she sat down. She even waved at the judge. Like this was some kind of game. But then the witnesses started showing up. One by one, past Airbnb guests I had tracked down took the stand. They told the court how they thought they were renting a nice place and ended up caught in a nightmare. Some felt unsafe. Some lost money. One couple said they canceled a honeymoon because they thought they were scammed. And the woman with 2 kids? She cried on the stand. Said she didn't feel safe and that Sabrina refused to refund her even after she found out the house wasn't hers. Then I got to speak. I told the court how I came home to strangers in my backyard. How I found my house online, listed under my name. How my ID was stolen. My mail tampered with. My internet messed with. My car egged. My mailbox destroyed. I showed them video of Sabrina lurking around at night. I read the fake messages she sent guests, pretending to be me. And then my lawyer played the recording, Sabrina giving a tour of my backyard, talking about me like I was some background character. She stopped smiling after that. Her lawyer tried to spin it. Said I couldn't prove the ID theft beyond a doubt. Said I had agreed to some sort of verbal arrangement and changed my mind later. He said the property line between our homes was unclear. But we had the county property map. Clear as day. I owned every inch she stole. The jury took 3 hours to decide. They ruled in my favor. Sabrina was found guilty of identity theft, wire fraud, and trespassing. She was ordered to pay me over $164,000 in damages and legal fees. The judge called her actions predatory, manipulative, and dangerous. But that wasn't the end. Turns out she was running a string of fake listings across the state. When the local news picked up my story, other victims came forward. People who had rented fake Airbnbs that never existed. They recognized her face. Her name. She was arrested 2 weeks later for additional fraud charges in a separate case. Her staging job? A front. The cleaning business? Fake. Her entire life was a scam. Her husband left her and took their kids to Montana. I later found out he had no idea what she'd been doing. They lost their house. It was seized in a federal asset recovery case. And that restraining order she filed against me? Dismissed. Permanently. But here's the part one didn't expect. About a month after the case closed, I got a letter. It was from Airbnb. They apologized. Said they'd failed me. Said they reviewed their internal process after the lawsuit and made changes to their ID verification system. Then they offered a settlement. They paid me another $38,000 to keep it quiet. I didn't sign the NDA. Screw them. They let this happen. They ignored my warnings. They sided with the scammer until the press and a courtroom embarrassed them. And I'll never forget that. As for me? I stayed. I rebuilt my yard. Painted the fence. Put up new lights, planted new trees, got a dog. His name's Diesel. He barks every time someone walks by Sabrina's old house, now abandoned and full of weeds. I still work from home. I still like my privacy. But I keep a closer eye on the neighborhood now. And if anyone so much as leans on my gate, I'm ready. Because when someone tries to take your life, your peace, your home, you don't just fight back. You end them.